So since you've made that transition into more of an entrepreneurial world, like, what are the things you've potentially lost, and what are the main things you've gained from that experience?
Very quickly, you do lose certain things. You lose a lot of support that you take for granted, like, IT and finance and all sorts of things are done for you in the corporate world that don't exist in the startup world. So yes, they can be heavy processes, but actually they're so useful. And you just realize it when you don't have them anymore and you're like, fuck, no, this is really challenging to do. So you lose a lot of that. You lose a sense of identity, some kind of pride or prestige or status associated with an easy career to talk about, right, with people. Much easier to say, I'm a banker, I'm a lawyer, regardless of the expectations of people, than to try to explain what is it that you're doing when nobody really understands your product or your service. So you lose that. You lose financial. Well, I lost some financial security and stability, and therefore some lifestyle that I had before. So that's all like realities, right? And of course, I want to make it work, and I want to make a lot of money in the future because I desire to go back to the same level. But it's going to take like a large number of years before I get there. What I gained, a lot more autonomy, a lot more meaning in my everyday life. Like the type of service that I provide is something that's very dear to me, and I really love doing it. So of course my life is way more fulfilling now. But I think it would be naive to use the word you mentioned to not be aware of the things you're going to lose if you choose to engage in a different path.
Sleep. Okay, you're going to lose sleep. You're going to look like this all the time. You lose your tribe that you have at work, your colleagues that you come in and talk about the rugby with, especially if you become a CEO, and especially if your team grows very quickly. Your relationship with the people around you has to change, and you have to recognize that. So those are two main things, I suppose, that you lose. In terms of the things that you gain, I think it's learning, and I suppose to some extent belief in yourself, and it kind of depends on the speed that you want to go at, and what it is that you're doing, and how many different things you need to become an expert in. Because if you go into that meeting with a VC, if you go into that meeting with a business who's looking to procure your product, if you're going to hire the next batch of people, or you're talking through legals, you need to know at least an element of what it is that you're talking about. So you do learn a huge lot, so you become an expert in a lot of different things. And I think that can surprise you a lot if you're up for it. So yeah, I suppose that's the quid pro quo.
Well, I resonate with most of the guys said what they lose, and personally for me, it's also my relationship also struggles kind of like on the side, because we used to have the same rhythm, kind of like we both work for corporate, we can just have the evenings to ourselves and the weekend and so forth. And once, a lot of you can resonate, is once you start, it's basically non-stop. You have to be wherever and whenever it needs. Is that balance kind of like a need to you need to kind of like reorganize that. And what gains? Personally for me, I'm horrible. I'm not a very organized person. And when I was working for corporate, everything was organized for me. It's kind of like, you have a structure. You have to go to work personally. What I struggled when I first started is, I'm my own boss. I have no structure. But I have, I think, gradually learned how to manage myself. I think that's probably one of my biggest learnings.
I think the main thing that I lost was that feeling of what if, because I was doing it. There's not really many chances when, if I'm thinking, what if we did it that way, that we don't test it or do it. So I think that was probably the main thing that I gave up, which was nice, because nobody likes to have that doubt in the mind. Things I gained, probably a bit of an addiction to Red Bull, if I'm being honest. I am actually very lucky. I've got two co-founders, very close to them both, but one of them I've been in a relationship with for the last 7 years, and so I guess really on the flip side, like, it's quite nice being able to work with him every day, although it's also a real pain in the ass sometimes. I've also gained a dog, so week I found bought the domain for GoSweat. I also went and chose a puppy. He's here. Conquer. So I feel like I've gained quite a lot. I think that I've also gained, like, we've done a couple of rounds, gained a great team, but